Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something I know we've all felt a little too deeply, the anatomy of overwhelm.
Right off the bat, take a look at that title. To-do list? Ugh. That parenthetical is doing a ton of heavy lifting, isn't it? It completely hooks us because, let's be real, it is the literal, exasperated internal monologue we all have when confronting a mountain of chores. It's not just a list, it's a massive burden. It absolutely nails that exact emotion of workplace burnout, or even just that creeping Sunday afternoon chore dread. The text itself practically screams defeat.
And this brings us to the ultimate, universal state of task paralysis. We've got this seemingly defeated stickman just standing beside a wooden desk, and draped across it is this absurdly long, cascading paper list. It spills off the desk, puddles onto the floor, and just keeps going. It doesn't need complex shading or realistic proportions to communicate a profound psychological state. You instantly know exactly how this character feels.
So let's talk about this universal ugh. The sheer visual weight of this massive paper perfectly mirrors the actual physical weight of cognitive overload in our brains. It completely dwarfs the desk and, frankly, it dwarfs our little protagonist. We've all been there, right? Staring down the barrel of chores or projects that feel like they are literally never going to end.
This is the anatomy of a breakdown happening in real time. Notice how our protagonist is facing the giant elephant in the room. He isn't attacking the list, but he's not running away from it either. He is caught perfectly in a state of limbo. This is exactly what psychologists are talking about when they refer to cognitive overload leading to a behavioral freeze.
Just look closely at the precise sequence of physical cues here. His eyes move across the checklist, taking in the sheer, terrifying volume of it all. The stickman slowly scratches his head in absolute bewilderment. You can see that slight stressed expression, the furrowed brow, the wavy, uneasy line of his mouth, and all the while, his body remains stationary. He's completely rooted to the spot. It is honestly a masterclass in illustrating the physiological freeze response.
To go a little deeper on that posture, notice how his left hand rests helplessly on his hip. It's this empty gesture of readiness, but with absolutely zero momentum behind it. And check out his completely straight, stationary legs. They perfectly mirror that feeling we all get of being glued to the floor when we just don't know where to start. When the brain gets overwhelmed with too many choices or demands, the nervous system basically rips the emergency brake. That stationary posture, that's exactly what task paralysis looks like from the outside.
So, what's actually causing this paralysis? Let's pan our narrative out from the character for a second and analyze the antagonist of our story. This physically impossible, seemingly infinite list. I like to call this the waterfall of worry. The paper is literally designed to look like a rushing river of obligations flowing right off the edge of the desk. It's such a striking visual manifestation of anxiety.
And man, this brings us to the cruel joke of productivity. Compare the top of the list to the bottom. Up at the very top, we see actual check marks. Items are crossed off. Maha, Tim, wave me, whatever those actually mean, they are done. There was this fleeting moment of productivity. But contrast that with the bottom, just an unbroken cascade of empty, mocking little squares. It captures that agonizing feeling where you managed to get 3 things done, but your only reward is realizing you still have 47 more waiting for you.
I also absolutely love the visual humor at play here. Look at the very bottom of the list resting on the floor. It literally rolls back up on itself. It completely defies the laws of physics, suggesting a never-ending cycle of tasks. Just when you think you finally reached the end of the scroll, it curls upward, hiding even more chores in its folds. It's basically an unspoken way of saying, hey, don't kid yourself, the list never actually ends.
Okay, let's lean in and do some detective work. We're going to decode the scribbles. It's kind of fascinating to treat these casual, almost illegible lines of text with the gravity of a classic painting, because there is absolute genius in how vaguely they're written. When you are overwhelmed, your tasks stop looking like clear, actionable steps, and they start looking like this abstract blur of demands.
Let's actually read some of these out loud. We have use the student, August, okay, vaguely ominous, but sure, brain for IT, maybe brain for IT. We've got names like Maha and Tim. And my absolute favorite, time flowering. I mean, what even is time flowering? This observational humor is just so spot on. It illustrates exactly how confusing our responsibilities become when our brains are overloaded. You look at your own to-do list after a long day and think, what did past me even mean when I wrote this?
Which brings us right back to the core concept of our explainer today, the productivity freeze.
We can now connect the utter absurdity and vagueness of the list's contents directly back to why our protagonist is completely frozen in place. Think about it. If your task is time flowering, how do you even begin to execute that? Ambiguity breeds hesitation. When tasks aren't broken down into clear, bite-sized actions, the brain basically opts to do absolutely nothing instead of risking doing the wrong thing.
And finally, I want to draw your attention to a detail that is so easy to miss, but it's arguably the most tragic part of the whole scene. Look right there, lying abandoned on the bare wooden desk, a single black pencil. It just sits there, completely unused. It is the ultimate symbol of task paralysis. The tool to defeat the list, the weapon to start checking off those empty boxes, is literally inches away from him. But because he's locked in that freeze response, he can't even bring himself to pick it up.
So I want to wrap up this explainer by holding a mirror up to you. Because, let's be honest, we've all been this stick man. We all have our own cascading waterfalls of worry. The question is, what is your next move when the list never ends? Do you stay frozen, slowly scratching your head while staring at the empty boxes? Or do you find a way to pick up that pencil on the desk and just start with the next scribble? Think about your own freeze responses this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.